Good morning, TNTs, or good evening, whatever time it is for you right now. This is Nels, um, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit for our lesson today. And first, I want to show you something. I got a very special gift from my younger sister for Christmas, and that is this plant. Now, this plant, I've been trying to take care of it. Sometimes I've been doing a better job than others. I forget to water it once in a while, but it is a cactus, it doesn't need much water. Did you know that that Adam and Eve were told to tend the garden, that they were given a responsibility there. I have been given a responsibility by my sister to take care of this plant, and sometimes I don't do so well. Sometimes I forget what the instructions told me to do, and I maybe water it a bit too much and drown the plant a little bit. But right now, it's still alive, it's still doing well. It reminds me of the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve were told by God to tend the garden and to take care of it. And there was also a few other rules that they had. Now, this garden was a very good garden. As you might remember with creation, when God created, he said that it was very good. That all these things put together, from the trees and the leaves that they had the uh, to the animals, all the ones that would uh, all the cute ones like the lambs and the dogs, but also even like the birds. Very majestic and beautiful things that God created in the garden. And God, though, he made man a bit different. He made all these things to show his glory, but he made Adam and Eve and he made them in his image, it says, according to Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Now, these are a few things I was like before something called the fall. Have you heard of the fall before? Probably you have, but we're going to go over that a little bit more again today because it's very important for us to understand what what the fall is and how it relates to us and how it changes us. Because though everything was perfect in the garden, the fall would have some very bad consequences for us. Now, here's the thing in the garden that God had given to Adam and Eve. He told them there was one rule they were to follow, and it had to do with a tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And he said to them that if they were to eat of that tree, that they would die in that very day. Now, though God had given them this rule, it is sometimes easy to forget what God says. I know that you memorize verses. I'm memorizing verses too, and I find it very easy to start to forget. What was that verse again? What was the wording? What was the important parts? And just like how we easily forget, it seems that Adam and Eve forgot about the commandment of the Lord. Because what happened was there was this serpent that came into the garden, and that serpent is the devil. Travis talked to you about them, or Mr. Johnson. He told he talked to you about the serpent or about the devil last week. And so the devil, he came into the garden and he tempted Adam and Eve. And when he asked Eve, "Did God say you shall not eat of any tree in the garden?" Eve told him that we are not supposed to eat that we can eat of any tree in the garden except for this one tree, the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so then, the serpent told her that she would not die. God told them that if they eat of the tree, they would surely die. But the serpent told them something else, that they wouldn't. Now, Eve had a choice here, to either remember what God had said or to trust the serpent and believe what he said. So then, what Eve did, it says, is that she saw that the tree was good for food, and that was a delight to the eyes, and the tree was desired to make one wise. She saw that there was something that she really wanted from this tree, even though God said, "You shall not eat of it." And so then she ate of the fruit of that tree. And then do you know what happened? She recognized that she was naked and she was ashamed. She also gave some to her husband, Adam, and he ate of it, and they both made for themselves clothing out of fig leaves. That sounds kind of rough, kind of uncomfortable to make clothing out of leaves, but that's what they did to try to cover up their shame, to cover up their sin. And then they hid from God. But then there was something else that happened after that. God, he didn't just kill them on the spot, but he went out into the garden and he asked, "Where are you?" Now God, he knew where Adam and Eve was because he knows everything, but he was asking them to come out and to show themselves to him to confess what they have done. But they say that they were hiding because of their nakedness. And then after these had happened, God, he put upon the serpent and upon the woman and the man a curse because of their sin. Now, to the serpent, he gave a word that was bad for the serpent, but really good for us. It says in Genesis chapter 3, verse 15, that God would put enmity between the woman and the offspring of the serpent, and that there'd be a man who would bruise the head of the serpent, but the serpent would bruise the heel of the man. Do you know who that man is that he's referring to? It's Jesus. Jesus would be the one who would crush the serpent's head. He's the skull crusher, and he will do away with Satan, the enemy. But there is something else that happened because of the fall. There is a hope that the devil will be taken care of, but there is something that we have to deal with here, and that is a sinful nature. I've mentioned how we forget to do things, or we don't care for things as we ought to. Like this plant here, I take care of it sometimes, but I forget. When you are asked to do something by your mom and dad, do you listen all the time? Do you do what they say without questioning? Or do you pout and get mad and upset? Now, God, He's given many good rules, but He also told us to honor our father and mother. Now, if we don't listen to our parents, that means that we are sinning. We're disobeying God. God also says to not lie. Have you ever told lies? I know I have, and it's not a good thing. I wish I hadn't. He also says, do not steal in his 10 Commandments. But these are things that we want to do. There's a part of us that does not like obeying God. Just like how Eve, she looked at the tree and thought, this is good for food. This is nice. This looks so delicious, so delightful to me. And sometimes sin can look that way. But then we must make a choice whether to listen to God or to listen to the sound in our own head. Do we listen to God who knows what's best for us, or will we choose to listen to our own self or to the devil who may lie to us and tell us that sin is good for us? And beyond this sin, there's other things that happened. Tending in the garden became a lot more difficult. I'm not sure if you've had to do much work. Sometimes I would go out into the field and help my dad in harvesting or to fix a tractor, really just handing him tools. Or when I'd have to clean the barn, I'd do a lot of sweeping and a lot of shoveling. And it was hard work. I would get tired. And the thing is that this toil, this hardness to labor, was not what God wanted, but it was a consequence of sin. He said to Adam in Genesis chapter 3 that the earth would also bear thorns and thistles, and that by the sweat of his face he shall make bread, and that they would eventually die. Now, that is a hard thing to deal with, but the good news is that Jesus is coming to restore all things as well. It talks about in the end of the Bible, in Revelation, it talks about the restoration of all things. And know this world is broken and many bad things happen. There will be a day when God makes it all better again, and He'll make a new creation that was like the old, one that's perfect and good, without sin and without all of these hard things. Now, I want you to think about this hope we have in Jesus. When you are tempted, look to Jesus. try to remember what he said about sin and about how good it is to obey the Lord and how we can rejoice and be glad in Jesus. Remember how he saved you. And when you might feel like things are hard, look forward to the joy of heaven. Look forward to what God will restore. Because though the fall has happened, God will lift us up again if we continue to trust in Jesus and believe in him. So let's all look to Jesus today and continue to walk according to what he has said.